Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, policymakers, development partners, fellow Africans. My name is Sherif Ghali. I'm the Chief Executive Officer, but I would love to be called the Chief Servant of the Ghana Chamber of Young Entrepreneurs because we serve young people. But today I'm not just here as the Chief Executive Officer of Young Entrepreneurs. I'm here as a believer, a very serious believer in the transformational powers of young people to solve Africa's biggest challenge, which is unemployment. And I want us to face this squarely. We have a continent that have the youngest population in the whole of the world. Over 60% are under the age of 25 years. And yet, year after year, we get graduates out there, and our economies are not prepared to absorb these graduates. Ladies and gentlemen, in Ghana alone, every single year, we have over 250,000 young people leaving our various tertiary institutions. And I'm sure you will be baffled to know that just 10% stand a chance of getting employed by the largest employer, which is government. Ask yourself, where would the rest of the 90% go? We train minds as Africans, but we fail to create systems that engage these meaningful minds. We tell our youth to be patient, but please, how do you look at a young person who is hungry to be patient? Because when an empty stomach young person goes to sleep, the next morning they wake up thinking of what to eat, not what to innovate. They are thinking of how to survive. But today I'm not here to lament. We are here to provoke a new change for Africa and for our youth. And so I'm asked to talk about how youth entrepreneurship can be a catalyst for job creation. And I say that on the basis of the fact that we are here to think different as Africans, we have to believe that we are not stuck as Africa. We are not helpless. And the solution is already among us. The solution is youth entrepreneurship. If we are serious as Africans to ensure that the youth are able to create jobs, then we need to focus on building the system that would allow young people to do business. Because youth don't just bring energy, they bring the sense of agency. Have you ever seen a young man so daring, so entrepreneurial, that they don't care about anything? You call them mad, you call them crazy. Yes, that is a young man. That's a young woman. Because when they want to do it, they go out for it. And this is the opportunity for us as Africans to hold on to. The youth don't just innovate, we disrupt stagnation. We look into what is not in existence and create something that is meaningful. If you think I'm lying, let's look at the fintech companies in Nigeria, the agri-tech from Kenya, the e-commerce portals in Ghana. These were all done by young people in Africa. And these people are doing so and employing their colleague young people. But the hard truth, ladies and gentlemen, is that they are all building on broken ground. A startup cannot survive, ladies and gentlemen, in an ecosystem that stifles them. We cannot ask young people to create jobs when we give them no access to capital, no mentorship, no infrastructure, and no policy protection. Imagine planting a flower or a seed, and then you decide not to water that seed. Then you turn around and say the seed is not germinating. This is how African economies are doing for young people. And so, in solving this situation, ladies and gentlemen, let us be clear. A true startup ecosystem isn't just about celebrating pitch competitions or one-off boot camps like we see. It is about systems and not events. What we need, ladies and gentlemen, as young people in Africa, to create jobs, and that for ourselves and for our fellows, is that we need access to financing. Financing that is patient, youth-focused, and non-exploitatory. We need policies, ladies and gentlemen, that protect startups, not drown them into red tapes. We need incentives as young people for local governments to support youth-led innovations. We need startup-friendly infrastructure like hubs, broadband, co-working spaces. Ladies and gentlemen, what the youth need is mentorship networks like the Ghana Chamber of Young Entrepreneurs, where I come from, and others that don't just inspire people, but actively open doors for them. And above all of this, we need political will. Without the political will, we may have access to funding, we may have access to policies, but then at the end of the day, we will not achieve anything, because it is only when you have politicians with political will that do not see businesses as competitors, or that do not see businesses as a threat, but rather support entrepreneurs. Some few years ago, Ghana recorded a very, for me, unpopular thing that happened, where banks that were owned by indigents were closed. Yes, they may have done wrong, but the question I ask is that, do you know what that says to a young man who dreams of owning their own bank as a Ghanaian? Because they think that in future, when their bank goes into trouble, their government will close them down. So ladies and gentlemen, what we do for the aged, the old people today, is a signal to the young person watching. And so if you don't create a safe net, then you are not motivating the young person to start business. Ladies and gentlemen, what if every African country had a startup act that's shaped by young people themselves? What is stopping African countries to adopt startup act that will give policies to young people to do business and incentives that will help them do business? Ladies and gentlemen, what if instead of importing job models as we do from abroad, we exported African innovations by young Africans? What if we do that? Ladies and gentlemen, what if the next big employer in my community wasn't a multinational company, but a 23-year-old young person who have learned how to create a business and create jobs? Now I call on all of us, our governments in Africa, I call on them to stop building employment policies for young people, but start co-creating with them. We live in a continent where they create a policy for young people and the young people are not in that room. And so they finish killing the bird and they come and show you that, what bird is this? I didn't go to the hunting with you. How do I know what bird it is? If we want the young people to be in the room to feel it, let's not lip sync. Let's not tell them we are including you. Bring them on the table and allow them to take decisions. No matter how stupid their decisions are, listen to them, refine them. That is why they say the elderly do. And so let's stop creating the policies for them, but creating with them. I've never seen a doctor that will look at your face and say that you are sick out of malaria by the look of your face. No, they ask you questions. When did you start having the headache? Are you shivering? And then they go ahead to assess you with whatever tools they have, and then they can say that you have malaria. But here in Africa, they look at our beautiful faces and handsome faces and say that the youth, I think they need this. And so we are giving it to them, which is not actually what we want. I call on corporate bodies and development partners. It is enough. We are not beggars as young people. We are innovative. We are ready to work. So move away from corporate social responsibilities as if you owe us. Move away from that and start investing in young people. How about a company decide to say that I'm launching a fund for startups? Young people in Ghana apply, I'm going to give you the fund. How about that? 2 years ago, I wrote something on Ghanaian media. One of these Ghanaian giants built a hospital. Is there a ward in one of these hospitals? I wouldn't mention the name, but a lot of you will know those who are Ghanaians. As much as we appreciate this gesture, why is this rich man paying taxes over the years with their company and their employees? Why can't they leave what government is supposed to do for government to do and invest in young people? We all know, and we keep saying it, the Asians are moving forward. They hate to see a young man that is innovative or have a business idea. They will tap you because they know catching the potential early is better. Are Africans not learning from this? We leave our young people with ideas to struggle every single day, and when we are not successful, they are the same people that talk about it. And for the young people who listen to me today, don't wait to be chosen. Build, collaborate, lead, and take the space. You are not the future, you are the force now and today. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I'll leave you with this. We keep asking ourselves, how do we employ these young people across Ghana? But maybe I think the question should be, how do we unleash the youth to employ others? It is true entrepreneurship. And by so doing, we give them the access to policies, the access to funding, the access to the enabling environment to run sustainable businesses. The African young person is not a burden. They are the greatest opportunity of Africa. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I say youth entrepreneurship is the catalyst for ensuring young people are employed. Because if over 250,000 leave our schools to join the market and only 10 of them is employed, ask yourself what happens to the 90%. And this does not just happen 1 year, every single year. You may not see the agency of that matter today, but I'm telling you that in the few years you would see that agency. And I don't think that any of us here want to live in a country in Africa where there would be insurgents, where the youth would say we are rising for what is supposed to be us. Because when the young person go home on an empty stomach, ladies and gentlemen, they wake up thinking of what to eat. And when somebody is thinking of what to eat, they don't listen to advice. Your advice may be so good, but they will not listen. They want to eat before they listen. We cannot put food on everybody's table, but we can empower every young person to create something. And so it takes all of us. Thank you very much. My name is Sherif Ghali.
Thank you very much.